All right, I think this thing has started.
Hey, little cat. What you doing?
My cat is visiting me. Look at my face. It looks disgusting. I'll tell you all about that in a minute. All right, let's see here. Got the other monitors up and running, and we are live, officially live. I can see it now. So we are doing drone practice for a little bit. It's getting kind of late, so I'm gonna try not to. Well, warning, throttle. All right, joystick. All right, I'm gonna try to keep it relatively short, but I got to put in a little practice every other day, like I said. My face looks like this. It looks dirty and disgusting. It's makeup. I was on a shoot today, and they made me look like filthy. Look at this. Look at my hands. See that? It's all paint, except for this thumb, that thumb is really smashed, but there's paint on it too. So I have to take a shower and wash that stuff off because I feel gross. But let's go fly some freaking drone simulation here, some FPV sim action. All right, let me see here. Sorry, got to get my scene set up. Down, there we go. All right, take on it here. Now, on my simulator videos, I've been basically like, I got these headphones on. I've been selecting just random images from my computer to put up for my thumbnails, and this current one is from Curse of Bridge Hollow. Maybe that's what I'll do, is I put up a random thumbnail, and at the beginning of the video I'll introduce it with explaining what the thumbnail is from. I should have done that in the other ones, but I can start now. That is from the movie Curse of Bridge Hollow on Netflix, and there's a scene from Halloween, like 1926, and the Halloween decorations come to life, and I played one of the Halloween mummies, and I'm the one, if you're looking at the thumbnail, I'm the one closer to the right. There's like another like demon-y character. It was what's the, I think the guy's name is Doug Dobbins. No, what the heck's his name? Can't remember the guy's name that plays. It's Doug something, not Doug Jones, but a guy who kind of looks like Doug Jones, same height and similar build, not Doug Jones. And then the other guy on the left, the other mummy, is Mark Steger, who played the Demogorgon in Stranger Things, which is pretty cool. And we actually shot that part of the film in Atlanta at the same studios where they shot Stranger Things. All right, let's go single player. Continue. We are gonna go. We did the bando last time for a while. It's funny because now that I'm getting a little bit better at this, I'm kind of curious to look at some of these other ones that I did before that I was like, I was crashing constantly, didn't know what to do. So I'm gonna check out the basketball stadium and see how that is. I think we'll probably end up back at the Apocalypse page because that one's really fun. But we'll go check this one out for a little bit. Just fly around here and see what is interesting. All right. Also, can I go through here? Yeah. Ooh, railing and stuff. Oh, look at this. I got like whole things set up out here. See, this is pretty fun. This reminds me of like these guys that go fly FPV around the mall and stuff. Whoa. Oh my God. Should have seen that coming. Immediate crash. Ceiling. How did I do this before I went down here? Whoa. Let's fly out to the arena area. This is pretty fun. I think before I couldn't control myself quite as well with the high ceilings and stuff. I kept crashing, and now I'm not good yet by a long shot, but I'm getting better. I can kind of control myself. I say it immediately, crashing constantly. Good job, Gordon. All right, let's go downstairs. It's hard slam. I feel like these kind of spaces are good for me to practice in if I want to do the like real estate FPV stuff from doing flying around buildings and so forth. Whoa. I need to come up with a good course around the thing. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I'm wiping out constantly. But oh yeah, so for today, like I said, my face is all dirty. I was on a set where I was a prisoner, and this is my 4th day on this shoot, spread out like over a couple months. I shot on it before, like back in November or something, and then we shot last week for a day. I shot one day on a soundstage a few months ago, and then we shot at a house in Altadena also a few months ago, and I'm pretty sure that house is burned up, which is unfortunate. And then shot on a soundstage again on Friday last week. And then we shot on another studio, but it's kind of like a location thing outdoors. And I can't tell you what it is yet, but when it comes out, I'll be able to point to myself and be like, remember that time when my face was all dirty? Here it is. And then yesterday I shot on a different thing, and I had to bring my bicycle. I got to be a cyclist pedestrian, just kind of background stuff, and it was real easy. And that was also in downtown. And I brought my bike, and then hung around half the day, and then they're finally like, okay, we want you in this scene. Our main character guy is going to be walking this way, and you're going to ride past him on your bicycle. And that was it. So I rode past him like, I don't know, 6 or 7 times while they filmed the scene, and then they sent me home, and I got paid for the day. And it was easy peasy, and I got to ride my bike, which is pretty cool. And I didn't even have to wear all the full Lycra or anything. I brought all my bike gear because I didn't know what they were going to want, but they just wanted me kind of like more like a commuter riding around the city, so I just wore kind of normal clothes. That was nice. Whoa, up by the scoreboard. Can you go through these tunnels down here? Are they closed to the public? Oh no, it is off. What's up, Voodoo RC? How's it going? Yeah, I'm just flying around here, doing a little bit of practice to keep my hands loose and so forth, so I can, hopefully not lose any skills I've developed, and maybe, just keep that built-in muscle memory up. The better I get at that, then the better I'm going to be when I think I really start flying. So I'm playing around in this basketball court, which is fun. It's a pretty cool space. I do think I'm probably going to go back to the Apocalypse page in a little bit because it's pretty cool. But it is fun to fly across this guy. Can I make it? Wow, look at this. Getting around. And I know I say it each time, but I definitely feel the improvements. And I feel like I don't necessarily need a day off, but I think when I stop and then I come back a day or two later, it just feels way more natural every single time. Big deal. I'm waiting to get my DJI Flip. Oh my gosh, did you already order one, or are you gonna get one? Are you planning on getting one? I've seen a bunch of DJI drones. I think I'm debating what I'm probably going to just. My first drone will probably be like a tiny Whoop, just so I can, goof around for real without causing too much destruction. And then from there, I'll probably upgrade to maybe like a 5-inch that could carry a GoPro. Because I've got a few GoPros here. I've got some older GoPros that don't get much use, and I figure I could use those while I learn, and if I happen to break one or lose one, it's not the end of the world, versus buying a brand new, what are they on, Hero 13 or something now, some like crazy model. I would hate to buy a brand new GoPro and then lose it immediately. That would be real sad. But as I get better, I may invest in one. But yeah, until then, I got 3 GoPros we have a 360 cam, which I would really like to not crash in anything because I use my 360 camera a lot. But I think that'd be kind of cool to have on a drone, but I don't know, what size I need to, what size drone would fly it. It's not too much bigger or heavier than a GoPro, honestly, and I could probably orient it in a little friendlier manner if it was a 360 camera. But I think that would be interesting to look at. You can go, edit your angles in post, and look around and so forth. So if I flew past something, I could, in theory, I could look back at it after the fact. Oh, dang it! Yeah, it's on its way. That's cool. It doesn't have FPV yet, but I'm sure they will add it down the road. Wow, that is cool. So, how much was the flip? I've seen them posted online, and they look pretty cool. Oh, dang it. I keep crashing it out. Alright, I'm gonna go. Now I'm just getting caught every time. I was doing alright before. Over the railing. Onto the railing. Can I get by the scoreboard? That's the deal. So yeah, sorry for the momentary silence there. I was kind of trying to work my brain around how to do something and not crash, but I crashed anyway. Yeah, so anyway, went to shoot this morning. It was really early, and I was done by, essentially we were done about noon with our scenes. And then today was more fun than yesterday. Yesterday was waiting around all day, and then we shot for like, I don't know, 20 minutes toward the end of the day for me. And then today was basically on set all day, which I enjoy more. Ow, damn it. And on the way home, there's a big fire in Castaic that just started in Castaic, California, which is, I sort of passed on the way, so I could see the fire. It was pretty crazy. And it's burned like almost 10,000 acres by now. I think it's 9,600 acres or something last time I saw the news. No, sorry, I'm gonna change tracks here. That's what I'm gonna do. Change track, that's what I'm gonna do. We're gonna go basketball stadium, city, coastal, countryside, dynamic polyworld. Let's look at this one. I can't remember what this is, so we'll go to one of these that says fly and just check it. Can't remember what this one looks like. Is the DJI Cosmic camera good enough to replace the GoPro? The DJI Osmo camera. I don't know. It's I don't know how wide they are. And as far as like the gimbal and stuff on them, they have like those little Osmos that are pretty rad. And what's my first drone, it had a gimbal for a GoPro Hero 3. You get kind of idea how old it is. Boy, this land sucks. I guess this is just for building a little race course or something. Yeah, I don't know what the deal is with like the Osmo, if you could stick it on a drone or not. I mean, I feel like the gimbal would probably still work. I just don't know how you would control it. Like if there's a way to control it remotely without the handle of the actual Osmo. My wife bought one, like the Osmo gimbal, like phone holder kind of thing, where you can put your phone on it and it can track stuff. It works really, really good. But I honestly, like, the GoPros are cool, but what is it? Got my brain. The Insta360 makes their tiny little cameras that take very good video. Now, I don't know if there's like a time constraint on how long the video it can take or start and stop, but I feel like if one of those on a drone would just be so much lighter, and the field of vision is just about the same, and there's so little, and I feel like it'd be easier to fly with it. All right, I'm changing. I hate this. This level sucks. Let's get out of here. And I have it in Bobo small mode. So what is this? Dynamic polyworld. Never come back here again. Dynamic weather. Let's check that. I went through these things once, but again, I was right when I got the app. Oh God. So oh, that was weird. Not what I wanted. All right. Oh, look at this. This is also boring. It's just a track in the middle of nowhere. But we've got, oh damn it. But we've got a bunch of stuff to fly around, which is cool. It was almost 1K with a 2-year warranty. RC2 remote and 3 batteries. That's cool. Is the RC2 remote, is that one-handed remote? That crazy one that DJI has now? Oh. All the DJI stuff I've had has been really good, minus the battery life. Like all of my drones, oh damn it, my Mini 2, it's around here somewhere. This little guy. You've probably seen these before. It just looks like this. This drone, they've got like 2. I think they're on the 4 now. They're on newer versions. But that little drone works so well. But I got the Fly More pack when we bought the thing, and it had 3 batteries. Great, right? But I didn't fly it often, mainly because it was always like it would be just long enough between times when I'd fly it that, oops, I don't want to go here. It'd be just long enough between times that I would fly that there'd be like a firmware update, or there'd be some, and you have to update the firmware on the controller, and you have to update the firmware on the drone, and then I'd have to get a new, like update the app and all this stuff. So I'd show up somewhere to go fly, and then sometimes I couldn't fly, or it'd be like limited because the firmware wasn't lined up. It's just a big pain. So, you know, if I was planning on going somewhere, I had to go make sure I opened up the drone the night before and made sure everything's up to date. It's just a pain. Like I just want to like get out there and fly the thing. So I wasn't flying it as often as I would want. And what happened is 2 of my 3 batteries just died. Like they stopped working. I barely had used them. Like from the time I got my drone to the time the batteries died, I probably used each of those batteries maybe like 3 or 4 times. And you know, spread out over the other batteries, it was a bummer. And only one would charge. So that's the one that's in the drone now. And I saw some people post kind of like a hack to get it to start charging again, because if it goes completely dead, the charger won't charge it. But if you give it a little charge manually, like there's a way to trick it into taking a charge, and then you can charge them, and once you do that, they're supposed to start working again. So I gotta like rewatch that thing. I saw it when I was out somewhere, so I didn't have the drone in front of me to like look at it to see if I could do it right. Empty, Polyworld, countryside, coastal, city, basketball, bando, apocalypse. There's more here. Oh, look at this. There's more. Oh my gosh, look at all these. Industrial wasteland. See, I didn't know I could scroll down here. Oh my god. Okay, now there's more. I haven't seen any of these. I thought that was my whole list. These are 360 cameras on RC cars, and the tracks a lot. It makes them FPV. I've seen those. There's a track right near here that has like a setup like that where you can just drive FPV on those tiny cars. It looks super fun. It's one the screen already on it, so you don't need a phone. See, that's pretty rad. And I like that like self-contained kind of thing. Look at this place. I've never been to this level before, so this is some exploration time if I could not crash out too much. Oh my god. Oh my god. I made it to there. Yay. Wow, look at this place. This is pretty cool. Did I fly here? I don't think I did. I crashed here a bunch already. I've been here for 1 minute. Look at this turny thing. Oh, I made it. But yeah, so anyway, the batteries were kind of just died, and that kind of bummed me out. And then I have a Phantom 4, which is a little bigger, but compared to this one, but it flies really, really great. It's good in the wind. So if it's a little gusty, it's awesome. But same thing, the battery in the controller is kind of like dead because I've had that drone for a few years. But the hardware itself is very, very good still. But the batteries are all kind of like taking a dive on me, including the battery in the controller, which I found some online. They're really like $40 for a new controller battery. The thing is, if I go get my Part 107 license and I can go fly, and until I can afford some fancier hardware, I'm gonna have to just use what I've got, which is fine for doing like real estate photos or that kind of thing. Both my drones can do like 4K video, and you know, they're not doing any. If I'm doing that kind of stuff, it's not fancy shots, or if I'm doing like roof inspections or something, what I have will totally work. So my goal is to get that going, and then as I get more of that work, I'll pick up newer and better drones, and again offer some FPV services as well. And again, which is why I'm doing simulator every other day. Let's try and make myself a little more valuable. See, I got to figure out how to like orbit around something in FPV style. Oh dang it, is not something good. This board looks pretty cool. Let me fly up really high and look around, see what's on the outskirts. Some of these have like stuff hidden in the mountains. It's weird, outside of map. Cool. The values are all wrong. So the sky is darker than the mountains, and that looks really weird to me, which is okay. I'm not here for great graphics. I just want to practice flying. Can I go down the stack? Or is that crazy? No, I don't think I can. Let's check this one. It's got a cap at the top. Oh, sweet. But yeah, so anyway, the DJI drones are good, and 4K video is fine. I've done some architectural photography with the other one, which, you know, I really need my license for that kind of stuff, but it's cool because it does tell you your altitude and all that is built into the app. So if someone's like, hey, I need you to go photograph this at, you know, this many feet and this many feet and this many feet, which is a lot of times you'll say when you're doing architectural visualization on the CG side, which again, if you've been here before, you know that I did that for a long time. If we need to do renderings from certain angles, like we have a CG interior from a building that does not exist yet, we used to hire someone with a balloon before people were flying drones regularly. There's people that would do balloon photography, and they could like put the balloon up at a specific height and then point the camera wherever you needed. So you could say, I need a shot at like 400 feet up to the 40th floor, looking this way at a certain time of day. And I needed another one at 300 feet up, and kind of like get the different floor heights. And so if you had a lobby that's on some weird floor, like an elevator lobby, or you're in someone's a residential living room that's up high, you could have the correct view outside the window of what you'd see, which is really handy. And having that like altitude in the drone is very, very useful for doing that kind of work. So now I've just unleashed a secret. So if you ever want to fly residential stuff, and you're on top of like real estate people that want just pictures of their property that already exists, if you wanted to do photos for developers who are doing renderings of property that doesn't exist yet, that's a handy thing to know about, is doing specific altitudes and so forth. You make sure that they know you can do that, because you never know what's going to come up for. Well, look at this helicopter. Oops, damn it, wrong angle. You never know what's going to come up when you're talking to real estate people. They may want something that doesn't exist. You have to give them some views. Like, here's the views from the potential balconies for the building that is not here yet. God damn it. Which is quite handy. And I've already seen, just since these fires happened, just so many drone shots from so many drone shots of like property and stuff. And again, half of that stuff is probably people going rogue and just flying around, but the news is buying those clips like crazy. Not that I want to like make a bunch of money off some tragedy, but also getting the news out is good. It's like those people that are doing, war photography, and you're around and you're taking pictures of awful shit. Excuse my language. Taking a picture of like terrible things, but it's the only way the rest of the world can know about it. So it's kind of like a double-edged sword. Do I want to be doing that? And also, am I contributing if I do that, or am I a jerk? And the answer is kind of yes to both. So, but we'll see. Oh, stupid thing. But yeah, so anyway, that's kind of what I'm aiming for. And I think I was supposed to do a marathon next weekend. Not this Saturday coming up, but the one after. I might have another different gig that day doing something else, which I'd be bummed to miss my marathon, but pay is decent, and I would definitely have some extra funds for my license, and maybe even enough to do it, to get myself a little whoop drone, a tiny whoop, like a cheapo one, but something I can practice with in real life instead of doing simulator every single day. But yeah, it's fun times. And then I think I mentioned this yesterday, not sure where everybody's at, but we'll be in Florida at the beginning of April to play a show with my band in Miami on April 5th. And then, oh my God, I just made it through that thing. Play a show with the band on April 5th, and then like a week later, I am going to be going to Japan for Star Wars Celebration, which should be pretty fun. I was a real estate agent appraiser about 15 years ago, and we always thought drones and photogrammetry was going to be the perfect combo for measuring bizarre exteriors. It really is, and that's like my friend Brandon's got a company now that does drone photogrammetry, like really beautiful, detailed stuff. They use, what is that photogrammetry software, reality capture, I think is the one. And they'll do these like really, really high res landscapes and like do photogrammetry of mountains and stuff. It's pretty amazing. But it's so handy to do, like using the drones for all that stuff. And yeah, photogrammetry to get measurements is a really, really good idea. And it's just such useful stuff. And yeah, I keep going on and on about it, but I'm kind of excited. I feel like it's a thing that I could do pretty regularly, and if I'm flying for myself, it gives me better opportunity to like set my schedule and so forth, because I get a lot of really cool work, but it's very random when it comes up. It'll come up at weird times, and then my availability has to be pretty flexible in order to do some of these things. So I feel like having a drone business on the side would be a pretty good way to like keep consistent money when the movie industry is slow like it is right now. Oh my God, I almost made it. Last few years has been was pretty good until like beginning of 2023, and then 2022 started to pick up after all the COVID stuff was starting to die off, and then we got like the 2023, they had strikes. In 2024, there were potential strikes for my IATSE, so then that was slow because nobody wanted to commit to doing any actual shooting if there was a chance of striking, because I think I talked about this the other day, but nobody wants to rent a studio space and like put together a crew and rent cameras and rent wardrobe and they rent these things. If they're renting wardrobe from like Western Costumes or something, they're paying for it for the duration of the shoot. And if the shoot takes months longer because strikes happen, and they're hanging onto that wardrobe, and they're hanging on to the studio space and camera equipment and lights and everything that they're paying for, now they got to pay for it even longer. Plus the strikes are going on and nobody's working. It's just not optimal, so it makes people very reluctant to shoot. Oh, dang it. Yeah, I can't believe I didn't crash out. It was there. So, anyway, yeah. I'll be doing that kind of stuff. It should be fun.
Can I ask you a question?
Yeah, I'm on. Wait, what's up?
Do you want to go to Bob Baker Marionettes 4:30 on Saturday with me, Joe, and Rohan?
Probably. Bob Baker Marionette, Saturday?
He's going to buy the tickets.
Yeah, I'll go.
Okay.
I think I can go. Yeah, pretty sure.
It's 4:30.
Okay. Bob Baker Marionette Theater, everybody. If you guys have ever heard of Bob Baker Marionette, it's super cool. It's literally like a puppet show that's been there. When did they open that place, Natalie?
I think like the 50s.
Yeah, like
this show is from 1959.
the 50s. All the little puppies. The puppets are really, really old and super freaking cool. So it's fun to watch, and then there's a lot of little kids in there, and they get terrified of the puppets, understandably. And it's pretty cool. Look at this, man. Second I say something, I make them think brutal. You naturally led into the real question, which is whether movie was paying the bills. Typically, yes. I mean, and currently, yes, but it's like up and down, and it's very hit or miss. Like 2022 was great. Even 2023 was okay, but it was on strike half the year. But fortunately, I make props as well, so I got jobs doing prop work, like painting stuff. I built a costume for the show The Masked Singer. That paid great. So, it's awesome. And then last year was like slow for a chunk of the year, and then like toward the end it did really great. I made more money doing prop stuff last year from worked on this DJ deck with Stupid Buddy Studios, and I got to go to New York with that. Hung out with Snoop Dogg. That was really fun. And then I did a commercial for Nike in Nego as this like ape character, and then they flew me to Japan to basically be the ape character for the shoe release for a couple days, and that paid awesome. And I got to go to Japan, which is cool. So within like 2 months, I went to New York and Japan and paid both times. Did I go to New York earlier? I might have gone to New York earlier that year too to work at another shop doing prop restoration. So I had like a decent amount of work, and it was all like industry related. All of it's been industry related for a while, but I feel like with the drone stuff, if I get licensed and good at it, then I can, probably get into flying for the movie industry as well. I love having variety because acting stuff is super fun, but it's really particular, and if you don't land something that's like either like a major role on a film or or really like a big commercial or something, you have to just take tons of random jobs, and they're hit or miss, because sometimes, especially for me, I like to do monsters and costume kind of things. So the amount of times I need those kind of characters is more than you would think, but not as much as just having like a regular face character, which I'll do with my face too. But yeah, something like this year, like I said, I've worked since the beginning of this year as far as doing on set stuff, like a handful of days. I worked today, yesterday, and then like last week, and it's been very slow. And it's slow for everybody. Whole film industry is just, everybody's like, oh my god, what is happening? But it is like when it rains it pours kind of thing. Like all of a sudden, like everybody's going back to work at the same time, and tons of stuff pops up. But 2022, I filmed on Skeleton Crew, Rebel Moon, Unfrosted, can't remember if Dungeons and Dragons was that. Your Dungeons and Dragons might have been 2021, but like a bunch of really fun, cool stuff. Plus like a ton of other like smaller things, and then last year it was shot on some pretty fun stuff as well, but just it didn't really like pop off until September or something. There was a lot of random stuff here and there. And anyway, yeah, it's like up and down. Working part, not the slow part. Yeah, the slow part, and again, it's slow for everybody. It's not like just me. It's like the industry, and that's one of the things with doing the props is like typically if there's not an acting gig, there's some kind of prop work. And I've worked on stuff for multiple films throughout, and it's great because if it's slow and they're not shooting, they're usually prepping up to shoot, so they need the stuff made. So it kind of like the schedule tends to work pretty well. Where if the prop stuff, once all the props are done, then they start shooting and they start looking for actors for stuff. So it kind of like goes back and forth. And 2022 is the first year where I did more acting than prop making. I had a lot more on set, kind of in front of camera stuff. And I was like jamming. I was really excited. And when the strikes happened in 2023, it all just like fell off so bad. And that was annoying. And by the way, I don't know if you've noticed, but I've been making quite a few laps around this place without crashing too much. But it seems like anytime I mention it, time to crash. What's in here? I didn't go through this building yet. I didn't even look in that one down here. Yeah, you never know. And there's like some random stuff going on for like theme parks. Like some shops are making things for the Universal Park in Florida. And I've been able to work on a little bit of stuff for that. And it's kind of cool because my brother's actually working on that too, but he's in Florida working on the park, which is really cool. But I've been able to have a little bit of hand in some stuff for the parks over the last couple of years, which is all still prop building. It's just like making movie props for the most part. It's going somewhere else. All right, what was I looking at for? Let's go down here. Oh, dang it. Did I make it? Oh my God, I made it, but barely. There's that helicopter I tried to get through earlier. Oh, shit. But yeah, so anyway, I figure doing drones would be a really good way to do both. I was on a shoot. Again, this is a thing I've said on a couple of these streams, but I was on a shoot a few months ago, or it's last year, which is only like a few weeks back. And they had a drone pilot on set, and that's one of the things that really kind of got it in my head. My wife was also like, oh, it'd be good to get a drone license, and like a day later there was a drone pilot on set flying for this thing that we're shooting, and he had like a DJI Inspire, like a really nice one with cinema camera and stuff. So it was very, very high-end cinema drone. And they filmed the scenes, and then they came back with this little, probably like 5-inch FPV drone, and it was doing these shots, just flying really close to the actors and everything. The guy was an awesome pilot, and I was like, man, that looks fun. Because I've been on lots of sets where people fly the cinema drones around, but I've not been on. This is the first time I've seen someone fly an FPV drone on a movie set. I know they do it, but I have yet to have been around for it. So it was super cool. I'm working on my 107 now. I really want to add it in a source of income, even if it's just a side job start. Exactly. And that's the thing. There's so many things to shoot. And there's, especially, like, I feel like the FPV footage, look, what, do you see that little, how they made the little screen interruption? That was kind of cool. Let's see if it does it again. I'm going to go back through that tunnel. Wow, that was neat. Especially the FPV stuff, I think it looks so neat and it's so cinematic, and there's so many cool places to fly around here that I think if I could sell stock footage, just go film stuff for myself, and then if it comes out good, I just put it up on a stock footage website and have good clips. And if it sells, good. If it doesn't, I was going to shoot it anyway, so oh dang it. So yeah, pretty fun. I feel like if it's something I would do for free and I can get money for it, that's always good. And flying drones is something I've done on my own for fun for years. But again, the FPV is pretty new to me. You guys, if you are curious to how long I've been flying this in the simulator, every single one of my simulator practices is streamed live so far. So you could go back and see. I think this might be number 11 maybe, or 12, give or take. Maybe it's 10. I don't know. Around there. So, and each one is about an hour, I guess. So, I mean, you will see massive improvements. It's crazy how natural some of these moves feel now. When I started, I would really struggled, and I brought this up before, but the first probably 4 hours I spent flying, I had it in like this intermediate mode, and it really put some guardrails up on the flight capabilities, and that I think actually slowed down my progress. So if I want to count like real actual FPV practice with like full controls, 8 hours maybe so far, which would be like one full day worth of flying. But I do think that taking a break at the end and having a day off, or like a little break in between flight sessions, really helps it absorb into the brain better. For me, I can't say that for everybody, but if I practice too much, I start to make lots and lots of mistakes. And it seems like when I come back in the next day, I feel very fresh. Oh, and I can't believe I didn't just crash. And so, like, my controls are definitely improving as far as just, making my little turns and stuff. If you watched a couple weeks ago, there's some stuff that I absolutely could not do that now I'm able to bang out here like that. I just did 3 days ago, three practices ago, I wouldn't have been able to do that. What controller are you using? Right now, I am using the Radio Master Pocket. This little guy. And I actually really like it. It's very cheap. Had great reviews. I know multiple people who use them for other stuff. Like one of my friends really likes these controllers for doing like animatronic stuff, and he recommended like a couple different ones that they had. There's one that's like a step up that he really likes, but this one's gotten good reviews from a lot of people that I trust. So I was like, all right, I will go with it, and it's really good. It's small, and the plastic that's made out of like has like a kind of like a cheap feel, but the actual sticks, this is what it looks like. The actual sticks feel really nice, and if I compare it to like one of my more expensive controllers, if I'm not looking at it, I can't. It feels good, and the responsiveness is very good. How long will it last? Don't know, but I've heard people say that they really beat them up and they have held up well, so I'm happy with that. And then what was the next one? I had a musician at Notre Dame game that had cool drones flying all around him. It was so badass. See, that's very cool. I use a C3 for FPV practice like this. See that I've got a few other controllers here, but I've got a couple of like DJI controllers, but because they're the Cinema Drone ones, they have the left stick where it snaps back to center, and I'm getting used to like this full throttle control, which my Storm Drone 6, my first one, it was kind of like flying this FPV with the guardrails on, where I had full control over the throttle, so wherever I left the throttle, it wouldn't just float in space. However, the Storm Drone 6 had GPS, so if you let go of the forward, backward, side to side kind of movement, it would lock in place, but the altitude was still dependent on the throttle on that drone. So it's very much like flying this in like the intermediate mode. So there's like similarities. What's funny is I've been doing this FPV flying in the simulator, and I flew my Mini 2 the other day, and it was weird. I was like, oh, man, stuff that I'm getting used to doing here now, like different types of turns and things are so different on there. Or like I mentioned this yesterday or 2 days ago, where like let me slow down here. Like on the DJI drone, if you push forward on a stick, you fly forward, but on the full control FPV, you just do like a flip, and then to fly forward, you need to give a throttle and lean into it, and that is not the same on the other drones, which you guys probably already know, but it definitely is going back and forth. Is going to be something I'm going to have to actually, as I get better at FPV, I'm going to have to like fly both drones often so I just have the feel fresh in my brain all the time, because I don't really want to get too used to one or the other and not be able to show up somewhere and fly well. If someone wants me to do something, I want to be able to pick up and do whichever one they need. Oh, dang it. I'm going to switch. I'm going to look at some other levels here, see what they've got. Let's see. Change track. Industrial waste. See, I didn't even scroll down this big thing here. Tech facility. Subway. Oh my God. See, I didn't see all these. The colors on this are really close together. I didn't realize this was a slider until just a little while ago. Let's go to tech facility. We go all the way to the end. See what this is. I keep forgetting my face has this makeup. It feels a little sticky. So when I put my hand on it, my hand sticks just a little bit. Well, look at this. Oh my God. I'm in space. There's like a bunch of Buck Rogers looking spaceships around. Ah. All right. Cool. Oh, dang it. I don't know how I feel about this one. I feel like I'm in a Star Wars set a little bit. Like in a hangar. Oh, there's a force field on that wall. Did you see I just slammed into like a glass shield? All right, this one is, ooh, can I go up there? What is this? Oh, there's like a bunch of rafters up high. Okay, how do I get around? Let me see. It looks like you can go up to another level through the ceiling. Did I just find a secret passageway? Let me see if I can get up there. Looking for aliens or something. Alright, this one's okay. It looks cool, but doesn't seem like there's tons to do in this level compared to the last one I was at. Oh, dang it. Okay, let's get at it. Let's back this up. I'm going to go somewhere else. Change track. Let's see. Okay, so we're at tech facility. Subway. It'd be funny if it was like a Subway sandwich shop and it wasn't an actual Subway underground. The C3 is more like a video game controller, so it fits me well. Yeah, this one, I think the one I used on a shoot recently was a Radio Master, but it was like a video game controller. It looked like a PlayStation controller or something. It had like the little almost like handles on it, but a similar layout with the buttons and everything. Radio Master stuff is more like box RC playing controllers, but still very good. Yeah. I don't know where it's at. The other controller's on here somewhere. I might have taken it out to the garage. Oh no, it's right here. So I probably showed this before. This is like the one that for the Storm Drone 6, and when I ended up getting the Radio Master, I was going to try to hook this guy up to the simulator, and you can do it, but it requires an adapter. It's a little bit older controller, and flying with it, I have to like use an adapter for it. It doesn't have a USB port on it. It's a little annoying, and I can't go that way. Whoops. And I have to. I wanted to do ELRS because a lot of my friends that do RC stuff in general, not even just drones, but like I said, like do animatronics and so forth, use ELRS receivers for things. So they're like, if you get ELRS, you'll be able to use it with tons of stuff. So that's why I got this controller, and so far so good. All right, so the Subway, kind of fun so far. It's a little dark, which I guess is fitting. Oh, I don't know if I can go down the end of the hall or not. Let's go check the other way. They got like a ring down there. Look at this. Oh, wow. This is cool. I end up in freaking Brooklyn. Alright. Go over this. It's funny how like I will involuntarily like dip my head in real life to not hit things sometimes. Can I go downstairs? Oh my god, I can. Look at that. The downstairs pathway. Oh. I thought I'd crashed. I stopped flying and then I crashed. Alright. Oh. Alright, we're getting out of the subway. I'm messing up too bad. I'm gonna go just look around. Change track again. Subway. And we have Shipport. I feel like I went to a Shipport Sports Hall. Let's see what this is. Insta360. Oh, it's the hell am I looking at? Oh, it's like another basketball gym with a bunch of crap around. It looks like they're gonna do one of those dog shows in here where they have the dogs go through all the obstacles. Oh, great! I didn't even know what I did. This room is small. The drone's real fast, and the room is real small. Wow, this drone feels different. I don't know if this is like the same drone I've been flying. It feels real, like kind of top heavy. Like when I go slow, if I rock from left to right, it really rolls fast. It just feels different than the one I was doing in the different boards a minute ago. Can I get through this hole? Oh. So fast. Oh my god. Jeez, dude. Alright, this one sucks. I'm going somewhere else. It doesn't suck. I suck. I'm not good enough at this yet. Let's see. What is that? All tracks. You see that? Sports all? Oh, any class. What is this? Any class. Mega beginner. Oh, wow. I didn't realize they had these. Okay, we're going to go back to this. So, Shipport. I feel like I saw Shipport before, but that might have been in the other. Did I go to this one? I feel like I've looked around at this one. Let's look. I was flying in a different simulator, the DRL simulator, for a little bit, and I think they've got a port version here. Look at those cars. That one's got the Gulf colors on it, the blue and the orange. I like that color scheme. There was like the Porsche 969. Is that the one? 918. Porsche 918 maybe, that had the Gulf colors like that, and it was really awesome. And then they did the Ford GT40 with those Gulf colors, and that car looked amazing as well. I loved it. Yeah, this board could be pretty fun. There's like a decent amount of stuff to do here. Crashing all over the place. So there's a guy I know who is very, very, very wealthy that buys lots and lots of movie props. And I think, if I understand correctly, his family makes these giant cranes like this for the ports. And that's how they made just a ton of money. And I've done multiple prop restorations for that guy. Some very famous movie props have been in my hands. And I got to work through Tom Spina Designs, but it's for this client. And he has a lot of cool stuff. He had a show on Disney Plus for a little bit on prop collecting. I don't know if it's still on there. I feel like Disney Plus will remove shows from their library, which is sort of weird. I'm like, how hard is it just to leave a show up? Even if nobody's looking at it, you may as well just leave it on there so that, in the off chance someone wants to see it, they can look at it. Or sometimes shows will get some weird resurgence that, like, I don't know, nobody's watching it now, but, 2 years down the road, it gets shared in the right place, and now it's discovered again, and people are watching it. My wife is watching some show now, some like, I don't know, girly, romantic, sitcom-y kind of show, and I never ever heard of it. It's called Younger, and it's got 7 seasons of this show. 7 freaking seasons, and I never even heard the name of this thing before. It is wild. And apparently all these people are watching it right now and realizing that it's a good show. It's been around for a bit, but nobody was looking at it. But I guess enough people were looking at it that could have 7 seasons. So that's pretty wild. I'm kind of hoping that's the thing with, like, we worked on Skeleton Crew for Star Wars, and it's got really good reviews. And I was very happy with how good the show was. But the viewership is just not great, which I think has to do with, how people perceive the Acolyte. I think people all tuned in for the Acolyte and then didn't like it, and I think that affects the views for the other Star Wars shows. Kind of like when the first season of Andor came out. It's really, really, really good, but it came after, I think, Book of Boba Fett or Kenobi, one of those shows that didn't get the best reviews, and then Andor, which is very high quality, just suffered because of that. And that's a bummer. This is good. I'm kind of excited for season 2 of Andor. And that's the thing, too, is all the Star Wars shows that they were filming here at Manhattan Beach in Los Angeles, so many of them are moving to England to shoot, and other places, too, but just overseas in general. It's sort of crazy. It's so much cheaper to film there, which is sad, because that was like, it's a fun industry to be part of, and when so many productions are moving away, it's like, they'll build stuff here for stuff that's going to shoot in New Zealand or shoot in Prague or, any number of places that are cheaper to film. And sad to see it go. Let's see. The radio mesh. I've worked around those cranes before when I was in the Navy. Newport News Shipyard is one of the few places that can make the carriers. So that shipyard is, one of my uncles works there, doing some kind of ironworking stuff. He does inspections there, and my uncle lives in Maine, and he travels to their shipyards like semi-regularly to work on big military ships. And this ship is just unbelievable how big people can make boats. Just like gigantic. Like, I mean, we're in this video game here, but people make these huge boats, and they can just travel all over the place and hold up through crazy storms and weather, and it's wild. And the scale of it is just absolutely insane. There's so much planning on board just to get like all the infrastructure right, and all the, you got the bridge way up top, and then all the controls are way down underneath the boat, and all the signals from all that stuff has to make it travel through the whole ship. All the, figuring out the wiring and the intercom systems and the plumbing. It's, oh my God, it's mind blowing that they can pull all that stuff off. Oh, went in the hole. It is, yeah, very, very, very impressive feats that they can do that. I mean, just a regular, like an airplane is so complex, but to think like a giant, massive, aircraft carrier or a destroyer, or even a cruise ship, just a regular cruise ship, amazing. The amount of like effort that goes into putting one of those things in the water is mind-bending. All right, this course is cool. Let's go check. I'm going to go check a different one here. Let's go to change track again. Shipport. All right. River 2. I don't even know if I saw River 1. Look at this little drone. Again, I do not know if the drone I'm supposed to be flying is the ones that they show here. Look at this. What happens if I get in the water? Oh, look at this. They put the course is like up here on the river banks. That's fun. I'm kind of going the wrong way. This course is meh. It's okay. Are these things supposed to be floating? I guess so. I was going through them backwards. These rocks are cool looking. All right, that's enough of this. Let's get out of here. This one, not so exciting. Nope, not quad settings. Get out of this. Change track. All right, River 2. Haven't watched much Star Wars since Mando and Bad Batch. Yeah, it's like, that's the thing is like you watch a show that's kind of and then it just kind of makes you not care as much to see the other stuff. But Skeleton Crew is very good. It got great reviews. It's very fun, and I'm excited because you never know how it's going to come out when you work on it. You never know if it's going to be good or not. You just hope it's going to be good, and I was very, very pleasantly surprised. John England, what did you do for Skeleton Crew? All right, so for Skeleton Crew, first of all, we made some droids for Book of Boba Fett that were the card dealer droids at the card tables, and they were also used in the Book of Boba Fett series. There's like 2 episodes with Mandalorian, with Mando, and there were the luggage droids they look like the RX droids that were in Star Tours, and the luggage droids and the actual card dealer droids are actually the same droids, but they repainted them for the different scenes. But they used one of those droids in Skeleton Crew, so I technically helped work on that, and that was cool because it's in a few episodes. And then I played a Clatoonian in like 4 or 5 episodes. I was a Clatoonian, which is like those dog face looking guys. I had a helmet and a dog face, and there's 2 of us. There's like another guy, his name's Tyler. We had basically the mask was the same, but his was just like tan, and mine was like white with like a dark like spots. Like it had a dark snout and a couple spots, but it was like a lighter color. And I was that one. So anytime you see that one through any of the shows, that's me. And there's digital doubles of me in a couple spots where they had scanned me. And then there's a digital version of me running around. I didn't perform the digital, like whatever he's doing, I didn't perform that, but it's just a scan of me doing stuff. For one episode, I was an Ithorian with like the hammerhead, but I haven't been able to find myself in the show yet. I think it's in one of the last 2 episodes, and I watched it, and there's like 3 shots that look like the ones I worked on, but I couldn't for sure spot myself, so I got to watch it again to see. So I don't even know if I made it into the show with that costume. I hope I did. And then on episode 3, I was the RA7 droid. If you see it, Jude Law goes into a room and he's looking for a droid, and he's switching on these different droids, and I'm the RA7 droid. He like reaches over and like switches on the droid, and I like activate and we'll go wandering off. That was a fun scene. I did a video about it because the way they shot the scene was supposed to be like he goes into the room and there's like droids. There's like a droid workshops. There's droids everywhere. And he walks up to the first droid, switches on, it sits up, it says something. And then he walks to the second droid, which is supposed to be me. And he switches it on. And I like, come on, same thing. He shuts it down. And he goes to the next droid. But when we got there on the day, it was like, wouldn't it be better if this droid, because now the other 2 were actually puppets, and I'm like a guy in a suit. So like, because it's, there's a guy here, like he can do other stuff. So instead of him, turning on and then shutting back down, how about what if it'd be cool if he like wakes up and he's like in the middle of a battle or something, he starts to wander off, and the director liked that idea. So they changed my position, because initially I was going to be like on the other side with the other droids, and he like made it so it kind of zigzagged across the room. And when he's like, okay, when you turn on, just start walking. He said, walk into me and I'll hold you I'll hold you back and I'll just let you go. And I was like, all right. So we like worked it all out. And on the, when you see it on the film, he switches it on. I go, and I turn on and I start to walk. And he holds me and he like lets me pass. And then I wander into the background and like literally just start wandering into the walls. And when they shot it, you see me in the background like wander around for like, I don't know, like a few seconds. But the day they shot it, he like goes to the back of the room and does something. When they turn the camera around, you could see me still in the background. Like I would still be back there wandering into the wall. So when they shot the scene initially, or when we were going in to do this scene, I knew what the scene was going to be like. So I brought a mannequin to put my droid on because it was my costume that they used for the show, which is pretty cool. But I brought this mannequin to put the droid on because I thought he's going to turn the droid on and then it's going to shut down. It's just going to be standing there. So I'll just, in between stuff, I'll just put on a mannequin so I don't have to wear the costume all day. And now that they changed it and I'm going to be walking around, when the camera turns around, they're like, oh, we can just kind of see that corner where the droid will be. So we need you back there still doing the motion in the background. And so the whole day they filmed like the rest of the scenes and I was back there doing that. But when the show came out, it was different. Like they had reshot some part of that scene and they changed it a little bit from what we shot. Not my part, but like the other stuff that was going on around me. They changed it up and it basically, you only see me for that one shot. So I spent the whole day back there, but you only see me for that one time. Oh, look at this fire. But I think what they reshot makes more sense in the scheme of the series. And you hear about these shows like, oh, they're doing reshoots or they're doing pickup shots later. And people always talk about it like it's this, like, oh my God, they have to redo it. It's so bad. And usually what it is that they realize that, oh, like they have this scene, but in another episode they have a very, very similar scene. So we don't really need to do that twice. It just doesn't make sense for him to do it again. Or like in a scene, they might show something that maybe exposes a little too much about a character too early and you want to like keep that secret longer. So they'll alter the scene a little bit, which is what the scene that happened with mine. They changed it enough so that it doesn't affect the arc of the whole series. So the series is more, more interesting the way that they made it now than if they'd used the shot that they did when I was there. So that is typical with anything. So if you watch, like, anytime I see people online, they talk about, oh, they had to do reshoots, and they make it sound like it's so bad they had to change it. And it's really usually like when you're putting it together, you find something that could be better and you want to just alter it a little bit. It's not so much that it was terrible and we had to fix it. It's more like, wow, if we change this one thing, then the suspense is going to be better for the next episode and you're going to want to watch more. It's, it just makes more sense. It's hard to see it on paper sometimes. And the same thing happened. There was like a scene that we did in episode 7, I think. And then there's a whole part where Jude Law comes out of this pod. He talks to everybody, and he has like a whole monologue pretty much that he does. And it was awesome. And when they filmed that, I was like right next to him. This is not as my droid. This is as my Clatoonian character. He was like right here filming it, and so I would have been like very prominent in the shot, which would have been really cool for me. And then they cut that whole part out. But then I was like, man, why'd they cut it short? But in the previous episode, he gives almost the exact same kind of like pep speech to the other people. And I think when you're shooting stuff each episode, they're so spread out in the shoot schedule, but when you're putting them all back to back to back, you see it. It's kind of like if you put stories on Instagram or something, if I'm hiking and I show a thing, and then like an hour later I film something else and I put it on my story, and then an hour later I film something else. In my brain, it's all spread out, but when someone watches it, it's like, 15 seconds, like just crammed together. And if I start out every one of those stories, I say, all right, a lot at the beginning of things, all right, everybody, or whatever. And I realize how much I say it when it's like every story, all right, all right. Like, oh my God. Now, in my head, I haven't said that for half an hour or 40 minutes, but watching it back, it's awful. Makes you pretty aware. But anyway, yeah, so Scouts Your Crew was super fun. Very, very fun to shoot on that show. And working with Jula was like a real treat. I've been on set with a lot of famous people, and Jula was like absolutely the best actor I've been around on set ever, as far as that goes. And we've been around people that are very good too, so it's not like a knock on anybody else, but he was just extremely good. He knew all his stuff so well. It was unreal. Like, he would come to set, and I would never ever see him like in, I don't know, probably like almost 2 weeks of being on set with them. I saw him look at a script one time, and it was like a second. Like, he held it up like this, and I think he just looked at a name or something. Like, it was so quick. He went like this and put it down. Like, he didn't even take time to like read a whole line. It was more like he looked at it at a glance, and that was it. That's of the whole time I was on set, all those days, I only saw him. That was the one time I saw him look at a script at all. And he had like these long monologues, and he could just come in and he just could do them perfectly every single time. Just super talented. And he really interacted with everybody. So when you go on these sets, like the one day I was a principal performer, so I got to be in the scene with him, which is very cool. And he and I like worked out the thing and talked and stuff, and that was cool. But the other days, I was background, and typically when you're a background performer, you're there. You gotta act. You're still trying to not be, terrible, and not look at the camera, and you gotta pay attention to cues. And a lot of times you have to know what dialogue's going on, so you know when to do your stuff. So you're paying attention just as much as you would if you're doing more acting. But they usually treat you like a prop, so you're kind of being placed there on the day. They like have a bunch of people to fill the scene in, and as the scene goes, they'll be like, okay, we need someone here and someone here, and it's a little less involved, which is why the pay isn't the same as when you're a featured person and the script and you know what the scene's going to be beforehand. But the whole point of that is that on those days when we were doing background stuff, Jula just interacted with us just like he would with anybody else that was like one of the lead actors. He would look in our eyes, and like if we respond a certain way, he would feed off of that, and it just felt like you felt way more involved than typical in those kind of settings. And it was very, very fun for us. All of us, I think we're all like, oh my gosh, man, this is fun. Jula is very interactive with all of it. It was cool. Let's see. Large car park. Okay. Let's go fly this one. Oh, wow. Look at this. That is bright. And full size. What? Oh, great. Immediate crash. All right. So, underground parking. This drone is fast. Oh, my God. I don't know if it feels faster just because the ceilings are so low or what. Oh, jeez. Really awesome. Definitely going back to find those scenes. Oh, yeah. So episode 3, the droid scene is at like 9 minutes in. So if you want to see that one, that's the one that was like featured. And a lot of times when you do background, like there's tons and tons of people that were spent many, many hours in those crazy costumes and stuff, and went to the fittings and did all the things that get no credit. Like I didn't get credited for any of my background days. I got credited for my day when I was the droid, but they gave me a puppeteer credit, which was interesting. I thought I was going to get like a performance artist credit, but when the show came out, I was listed under puppeteers, even though I was in the costume. But still, they credited me, which is good, because when you get a credit, it means you get residuals, and as the show plays, you'll get checks, for a while, which is nice. And when you do background, you don't usually get that. Sometimes you get upgraded, like if you get to do a specific interaction with somebody, they decide, oh, you would be good for this, and they stick you in a scene with like one of the key people. You'll get upgraded sometimes, and then you might get a credit, and you'll get some residuals. That's great. Typically you don't. So if you watch those shows especially like episode 3, or I'm sorry, episode 2 when you go to Port Borgo. There are just tons and tons of cool aliens, and you know almost none of them have their names at the end of the show, myself included. It's just like uncredited, which is just how it goes. But same with the original Star Wars films. Like if you go try to find the people from the cantina, like one of my friends, his whole thing is making like the craziest, do you have any deep dives on the droid builds? Yes. Do you have anything in particular you want to know about the droid builds? I could tell you about a lot of stuff with the droids. Do you know about like the RC droids? You want to know about the protocol droids, or which ones? That's not a dumb question. I just like, what's funny is like, let me hold on a second. I've got like right here next to me, literally like just off camera, I've got a full this is one of the bus driver droids I'm building right now. It's the same. I made the files for most of this droid for the show, so I never made one for myself, so I'm building one for me right now. They got parts all around me down here, and everybody's sick of it. But yeah, so I'm an animatronics nerd. Oh yeah. So yeah, there's tons of cool animatronic stuff, and like in the show, there's like our droids that we built have animatronics. The animatronics for the head and the arms were designed by David Ferreira, and he had built a Wall-E, and his like arm mechs were really good. So when Mike McMaster, who hired me to do the 3D modeling for most of this droid, he hired David Ferreira to do the arm mech. So the upper arm has its little mech, and then the head has a pan and tilt. And I did all the modeling. Anything you see externally, I did the modeling for, but David Ferreira did the servo connections and all the mounting points and so forth for the servos and the cable guides for the arms. And the head has like a pan and tilt. It can rotate. The neck can extend up and down, and the visor can move. And so the visor servo is inside the head, and the head is held on with like this hub. So that servo lives in the head, but then you could remove the whole head from the droid, and then it could like pop on, and it like locks in with a magnet. But then the rotation and the pan and tilt are in the other mech. It's pretty cool. For the Disney Wall-E build, it is a build of that Wall-E, but it's not in the parks currently. There's multiple builders that I work with that have had their Wall-Es in the parks for things. And Michael McMaster, that I talked about, that hired me for the RX build, he built the Wall-E that was on the Pixar in Real Life on Disney Plus. If you ever saw that, there's like a scene where they're in New York City, and they have Wall-E come out and just driving around. It's really cool. It was funny because he was in New York filming that, and I was in New York working at Tom Spina's shop at the same time. And Tom Spina's shop's up on Long Island, and Big Master's like, I'm in New York, and I'm like, I'm in New York, and I took the train into town after work. And took the train into town after work and met up with Mike McMaster. We walked all over New York City till like really late at night, and I took the train back and went back to work in the morning. It was definitely a long day. We had this car track. This is cool. It is actually kind of good practice for some stuff I want to do. And then like if you saw Skeleton Crew, there's the other droids. There's SM-33, they're the big like pirate droid, which is super neat. And I got to be on set with it a bunch, and it was like right there. So I got to really, really look at that thing. And it was very cool because it's basically a big puppet. The guy, he wears it kind of like in front of him, like a Bon Roku kind of style. And the head and neck is RC controlled with like somebody's on with a radio control and control. It was funny because when between scenes, it would shut it off. The head would just flop down so violently. I was like, oh my gosh, this guy's gonna break this thing. This is kind of fun. This is not really like the most exciting thing to look at probably, but it's actually kind of a fun one for me to practice. Let me see if I can check out what's over here. And then as far as the other like animatronic droids on set, there's like all the R2 style droids that are driving around that were built. Some of them were built by the production, or some of them were rented by the production. Some of them were built by a couple of my friends. They've built some for the shows, and they're pretty straightforward. As far as RC stuff goes, they're pretty straightforward. It's a little slightly more involved than like an RC car, but not too much. It's like a receiver, you have your speed controllers, and then you know, your motor setups for the dome, and then the wheels. And the wheels kind of act like tank wheels, so you know, the forward is basically driving both forward, and then the left and right do, you know, one or the other depending on which way you're turning. So you, it's relatively straightforward. It's like a little bit heavier duty speed controllers and stuff, but not overly complicated. If you've done any RC stuff, you could set one of those up pretty easy, I think. Sorry, this is surprisingly interesting. That was a pretty fun little spot to fly through. What else is around here? Is there anything on the other side? Nope. All right, let's get out of this track. We'll go check out something else. Oh, outside a map. I don't want to be in that map anyway. Change track. I do like this track. I'll come back here. Wally Builders Club, correct? Yeah. The Wally Builders Club is awesome, and there have been so many basically upgrades since they started the Builders Club. It used to be like the dimensions and like the basics, and now it's like really involved animatronics. So like there's so much more nuance in the movement and so forth. That the heads can move a certain way, and the eyes can do their little weird, you know, expressions, and the hands can do. It's very cool. Karting track. Is that the one I was listening? Yeah. Karting track. Industrial Wasteland. I did that one right. Indoor go-kart. Let's try this one. I think I was at this one already. Yeah, I was at this one. Let's back out of it. We get out of this guy. Change track. Hey, it minimizes every time I switch back. Industrial Wasteland. Indoor go-kart. Future hangar empty. So I guess that's the same one without the ships in it. Football stadium, factory, indoor go-kart. Yeah, the Wally Builders Club is very cool. What's awesome is like just on Facebook, the amount of specific clubs, you know, groups for building kind of anything. There's, you know, specific pages just for making like whatever robot or movie prop or whatever. You can find resources, which is awesome. And that's kind of like what I want to do with my Patreon is kind of do some of those too, but I'm trying to find the ones that are either more obscure-ish or more specific. Like there's times when the builders groups are good, and I like to contribute as much as possible, but if I'm going to model a bunch of stuff myself, I don't need to like make it, you know, I don't need to sell it for a heap of money, but it'd be nice to make a little bit off of it so that it's worth my time, because otherwise it's hard for me to justify sitting there making the dang things. So, you know, it might be one of these things where I do a Patreon, and as I, you know, work the files out, maybe eventually they'll be posted publicly, or, you know, older versions maybe go public, and the latest will be Patreon only. I don't know, because I do like to contribute, but I also, like I said, I need to make enough to justify sitting here and doing it. Look at this. I feel like as much as I'm crashing, I'm doing so much better than I was. Yep, I've been working through converting the Wally STL files to real CAD. Oh, nice. To get there someday. Pricey build to do it. It is pricey. And now it's like, if you're going to use servos, all the shops that I've worked with that do like animatronics for films, they use Reese servos. They are brushless and they're silent. So when they're, like a lot of servos, if they're just sitting there and you have it on, like if there's any tension on servo, you can hear it humming, which is fine if you're building stuff for your house. But for films, the sound people hate when there's like little hums and stuff coming off of things. So those Reef servos are really, 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 really good, but they're expensive. But they'll super sturdy. They'll hold up a long time. They're real quiet. So if you build a thing, I think this has happened to a lot of people where they'll build some cool prop and it looks great, and then suddenly people want to start filming with it. You'd be surprised how many people end up working in film and TV because they built something for fun, and then it leads to work. They're getting jobs because of this thing that they built, which is cool. But I always am like, if you can, at least make it where you could swap it out to a better version of a servo or a motor. Even if you go with a cheap one at first, just leave it like compatible so you can move around for later. Make your brackets swappable. Don't print them into the, like if you have a frame and it's got like a bracket for the motor, don't print the motor as part of the frame. Make it like a separate component so you can upgrade it later if you need to. I always try to think in that mindset. What program are you using to remodel? Are you doing Fusion or SolidWorks or something? Future Hanger. Let's go football stadium. I've got a SolidWorks license from a few years ago. It's probably like an older version. I don't know if it is any good anymore. I guess it would still be good, but I did a thing with Michael McMaster again, as per usual, for Magic Wheelchair, and one of the sponsors of it was whoever does SolidWorks, and they basically set us up with a license because we were donating our time, which is really cool. But the computer I was using at the time couldn't handle it, so I could open it and like kind of start a project, but I would get memory warnings like as soon as I opened the software, not even doing anything yet. I would have like warnings like about my system requirements not being up to spec, which was awesome. But now I've got another computer since then, so I think this computer that I'm playing this game on could handle it. But I've been using Fusion 360 now since 2017, I think, and I'm pretty used to it. But I would be stoked to learn SolidWorks as well. I know a lot of people that use that. It seems like most everything that's in SolidWorks that I would use is also in Fusion, so it makes it hard to justify swapping over completely. And the fact that you can export step files from one to the other, and they come in like very editable. So I worked when we did the droids for our Skeleton Crew. David Ferreira was working in SolidWorks, and I could save out my files as a step file, and he could import it, make modifications, and then I could bring his stuff back into Fusion, and it was still completely editable as a solid model, easy to work on, and it was pretty seamless workflow, even though we're using different software, which is really, really nice. It didn't save all like the model history and stuff, so if you're doing like a parametric model, I don't think all that stuff transfers over from one to the other, but still pretty cool. I'm getting out of this. This stadium's boring. I don't like Fusion's mating system, but it might be a weirdo. I'm a SolidWorks jockey for my day job. Fusion just feels odd to me. Yeah, SolidWorks is awesome. It's like, SolidWorks is VRAM hungry for big assemblies. The thing is, like, when on my other, it's funny because my other computer, the one that I had SolidWorks on initially, is like right here. I actually might be on here. Let me just check. Like, I'm just curious to see if it's actually on this computer still. It is SolidWorks License Manager Client. SolidWorks 2017. This is the license I got on this one. SolidWorks 2017 Fast Start. I'm very curious as to what happens if I try to open it. I'm gonna do it really quick so we can look here. Let's see what happens. SolidWorks. It's a student edition. Verifying license. Number of days before product activation expires. I have to go to the activation wizard. I do have the actual like license for it, but I don't know if I uninstalled some component because it used to just open up. It didn't give me any of this stuff. No. But when I would open it on this machine, it would freak out the whole machine. Sorry, you didn't get to see that. But yeah, the one that's on here is SolidWorks 2017, 2018. So it's a little dated. But yeah, SolidWorks is awesome. I know a ton of people that work in it. But it's expensive, and I can get around in Fusion with enough mechanical stuff. Actually, at Spectrum Motion, when I was working there, I used SolidWorks all the time, and I have had multiple projects where I've done my work in Fusion and given them the files, and they were able to just take it and add whatever they needed to, which is good and bad, because sometimes I'm like, hey, my file's awesome, you don't need to change it. I see a cat walking by. Let's see here. What did I just do? I did Subway, Industrial Wasteland, Indoor Go-Kart, Football Stadium. Did I do this factory yet? Empty scene at night. All right, let's try this one. If I did this, I might be through all of them now. Oh, I don't know if I did this one. Let's go look around. Yeah, SolidWorks is awesome. And I'm again, like, as far as the like what features it has that Fusion doesn't have, I don't know enough. I know Fusion can handle a lot of stuff now. It can do, material simulations and same kind of thing. You can do big assemblies and different component stuff. So I just don't know the main perks for moving over. Whereas, like, I use ZBrush for a lot of stuff, and then before that I used to use like 3D Studio Max and Maya, and now it's like I pretty much mostly use Fusion and ZBrush. Those two programs will get me by most of what I need to do. But I started using Blender a few months ago for doing like VFX work, which I don't do often, but every once in a while I get like some job where I have to do a background replacement or a digital set or something, and Blender is really impressive. Now it can't do any of the stuff that SolidWorks or Fusion could do, but it handles poly modeling awesome, and the sculpting tools in there are not as good as ZBrush, but they're getting really close, and I feel like within like a year or two it's going to be caught up with ZBrush, and that's going to be bad for ZBrush because which I don't care, but ZBrush got bought out by oh god, what was the name of that place? It used to be owned by Pixelogic, and then oh my god, I've been up since like 3 o'clock this morning. My brain is toasty. But the place that bought ZBrush, will come to me in a second, they put a subscription on there, and now there's like, on the subscription it gives you access to their rendering software and all that stuff, which I don't want. But Blender has rendering software built in. It's good. It has good poly modeling built in, so you can do you can go straight old school poly modeling and then go into the sculpting, and then you can go render it and export it, and then you can do animations with it, all kinds of crazy stuff in Blender for free. So if you're doing ZBrush, it's like, it starts to become, hey, do I want to pay a subscription to do all these things, or do I just want to use Blender, which is very capable? And it used to be kind of a thing, like when I was working in 3D Studio Max, nobody wanted to use Blender because it was, at the time, was just not good. It was really clunky, and the rendering sucked. And now it is very capable. It is very capable. It's very impressive, actually. And it has a compositor built in it, like a node-based compositor, like Nuke, built in. And nobody talks about that. And it's super impressive. So you can do so much just in that software. Maxon, yes, thank you. Maxon, the sons of bitches. I know I've mentioned this before on here, but the one time I got a ban on Twitter was when Maxon bought ZBrush, and they honored that. They honored the perpetual license, which is what I bought when I bought my license for ZBrush from Pixelogic. I got the perpetual license because at the time that's what they had. You buy ZBrush and you get upgrades forever, and it was so cool. And I don't mind even paying for major upgrades from time to time if you pay like a little bit. If it's like $200 every like couple years to like have the updated version, it's a little expensive, but I would pay that if it makes the company, do well. But this subscription-based stuff makes me so nuts, because if you take a trip and you're like working on your computer and you don't have internet access, and it has to freak out like, oh, we need to verify your subscription, and now you can't work because you're sitting somewhere with no internet. That is not cool. And then they can change the terms, and all of a sudden you're screwed, like what Adobe did, where they're like, oh, on this newest version, if you're using Photoshop, we can have access to your files and use them to train our AI, and all this crazy stuff. And all these people that are working under NDAs and didn't want to sign that agreement, well, they don't have to sign it, but now they can't use Photoshop, which they were using, the day before. But now that the upgrade came out, they basically can't use the newest version without saying okay to the agreement that they don't agree with, and that is not cool. And I just want to own the damn software and then upgrade it when they have an upgrade. I can say yes, I will do that. So my version of ZBrush, I'm still using what is it, like 2022.07 or whatever the last one was before Maxon decided they're going to start screwing us over. Oh, but back to the thing, I got a Twitter ban for telling Maxon when they started changing to subscription that I was like, man, I hope you guys get diarrhea. and I got a 72-hour block on Twitter for that, for wishing how did they phrase it? I got a picture somewhere. It's basically like essentially like wishing violence on other people, but I'm like, I'm not wishing violence on anybody, just wishing diarrhea on them. Fusion's mesh handling is way superior to SolidWorks. It's so huge when it seems like for film. Yeah, it's like, it is very good bringing in meshes into Fusion. And now there are some tools that the paid version of Fusion has that the free version you kind of can use, but it's not quite as, like if you're going for you can change meshes into like surface models, and the one in the paid version is just the workflow on the paid one's a little bit better. I can't remember the specifics, but I actually was working on something recently and I had to like remodel this whole thing from a mesh, and I could work in one direction but I couldn't go back the other way if I needed to. So it makes it that thing where I get like this kind of anxiety about committing to the model, like do I really have it right, or am I going to have to go back to this previous like shape to edit it, and now I can't because I've converted it. But I think the paid version you can reverse that conversion if you need to. It's like from surface to solid, or I can't remember which way it goes, but it would be very convenient to have the paid one in that respect. I think if I do the Patreon, I'll probably justify doing the paid Fusion 360. Right now I use it a few times a year, and then not all the time, but I think I would be using it a lot if I'm doing my Patreon. Also, see, I was thinking about it. Flying this thing around is my controller starting to beep at me. Usually what I'm doing is when my controller starts beeping is when it's about time for me to like log off, but I'm going to do what track? Let's look at, I did factory. What is that? Factory? How far down? Empty scene night, empty scene day, empty polyworld. I hated these. They're terrible. Dynamic weather, Countryside, I like Bando. Apocalypse is really cool. I think this one's still probably my favorite right now. But the stadium one's pretty neat. And I feel like the subway one is this one just has so much stuff to fly through or crash into, whichever one. But this one is just interesting. And I feel like every time I come in and I'm a little better at flying, it's more fun to do because there's just so much random stuff to try to, so many little holes and gaps and little buildings to fly through. This one is just awesome. The church. Oh my God. This is another thing is on this one, I think when I was starting, I would fly around real high in the sky and I had plenty of room to mess up. But if I practice flying lower, it's a little less forgiving, and I think that's probably good. You get used to getting around objects and without wrecking into everything. The bombs, it just feels interesting, you know? The closer you are to stuff, I think it's like when people do the wingsuit stuff, and when they fly close to the mountains, it feels way faster when they're just flying out in the open air. And I feel like the FPV stuff is kind of like that. If you are passing by stuff and going through little areas, it feels cooler. Let's see. Oh, damn it. So yeah, so that's that. Super fun time. What kind of stuff do you make in SolidWorks typically? Do you have a main product that you work on, or is it just kind of like general engineering kind of stuff? I know SolidWorks is such a good program, and I know it's very much gold standard for a lot of the engineering people that I interact with that work at the shops. They love it. I'm trying to think what else I'm working on now. So, for my Patreon stuff, I'm building. What was I working on today? I'm doing my EV99, which the files from that are basically the same ones I used for the ones that are at the Disney parks. But they only wanted the torso, shoulders, and a head with a neck and everything, but they didn't have the arms and the pelvis and the legs, all that stuff. So I'm making all that stuff now and doing some upgrades to my model to make it a little bit cleaner, because when I did mine, I only needed to make one that they were going to mold and cast for the parks. So I was, I knew I was just going to, whatever came out, if there was like a little flub, I didn't care. I was just going to fix it when I did the cleanup. But now that I'm making them for print for other people, I'm trying to make them as perfect as possible and easy to print and put together. I'm also doing some C3PO shorts, like droid shorts for my droid builder friends that are from scans of real movie suit shorts. Then a couple other movie robots that I think are going to be pretty cool, and I don't want to reveal them yet in lieu of somebody beating me to the punch. And there's other people that have actually modeled some of these things, but the models they're okay. They're the kind of thing where someone that doesn't know would be like, wow, these are beautiful, they look cool, and everybody will know what it is. But if you have access to the real thing and you look at it, you know that there is a lot of inaccuracies in these models. So I am going to try to fix that, or at least make it 80% better so that it's closer to the screen used versions to give some extra value. Oh my god, this is fun. I swear this level gets more fun every time I come over here. I just feel like my amount of control has improved so much. It's crazy. It's crazy. If you watched just a week ago me flying in here, I would not be able to do any of this stuff. It feels good to see improvement, you know, versus flying around crashing for like days straight. And you're like, am I ever going to be able to do this? And now I feel like I'm getting it. I feel like I'm starting to get it. It's very fun. Laser markers and pick and place test handler stuff. Oh, that's kind of cool. Cartesian robots. That's pretty fun. But movie stuff is what I'd rather be doing. You could just do both. I mean, if that's the thing is like, just work on a bunch of stuff that you want to make, build some robots on the side, and you got all those skills. It's kind of how I ended up in the industry too, because I came from more like the poly modeling side. Although I do have like a pretty decent, like a decent grasp on a lot of engineering principles. So for me to make something move or do something is fun for me. I really enjoy that. But I came from like artsy poly modeling background, and I was doing stuff, architectural work, and when people started getting 3D printers, became more available, so many people would reach out and want things modeled. But I also like making stuff, so when I see people having me model things that they're going to make, I'm like, I could just do this myself. And that's sort of how I ended up moving into that area. But I was doing that and doing architecture stuff at the same time. So I worked the architecture job until 2017. And from 2011 or 2012 until 2017, I was building stuff on the side until it kind of like took over my time. But I just make as much stuff as you can and then share it. That's the big thing I always tell everybody. If you share what you're doing online, it will eventually will take off somewhere. Somebody will hit you up and be like, hey, I saw you made this. Can you make this thing for me? Or can you help me with this? Or can I buy something off of you that you made? Whatever it is. And before you know it, there's people like coming to you to make other stuff. And yeah, the movie stuff's really fun. It's like kind of freaky with all the AI, how super good it's getting. And the complaints people had with like, well, you can't do this and you can't do iterations with the AI and all this. That was like 6 months ago. But now that is slowly changing. It's not even slowly, it's quickly changing, where you can make all kinds of iterations now. There's like, oh, I got this character, but the background's not right. Now what? That's what the artist used to say. And me being an artist, this isn't me like pro AI. This is just me being realistic. But you get a scene and you don't like some of the layout of stuff in the background. There are programs now where you can just move the stuff around in the background of the image. It's almost like a fully 3D realized scene, and you can change people's facial expressions and all kinds of stuff. It's getting easier and easier to iterate. So if you're now doing like concept artwork or something and you need to have different versions for your client, you can, or the client likes something but they want something changed, with AI before, there you are, you're stuck with this image. Unless you know how to draw or Photoshop or something, you can change it. And then for the artists, they could go redraw a thing or change it, and that takes time. But now with the AI stuff, it's like, it's getting to the point where you can find the design you like, give it the tweaks you want, change people's facial expressions, change the lighting in the scene, animate. It's just nuts. All the stuff is nuts. And it freaks me out. And I feel like we're in the Matrix because of it. It's too weird. And some of the simulations that they're doing to like train the robots, I feel like we're just in one of those simulations right now. It is too freaking weird. Oh my god. Oh, dang it. But appreciate the advice. Yeah, man, so like, you could totally do it. And if you're already in engineering stuff, you're like leaps and bounds ahead of most people. I think a lot of people come into the industry and they're like, I want to make stuff, and they don't have any of that. But if you're already doing that, that's so valuable. So super valuable. Being able to do some CAD software the amount of people I know that make stuff, but they don't know how to model anything is a lot of people. And they're real good at putting it out there and getting a team together, to produce a thing. But when it comes down to that aspect, and sometimes that is like a key component to the build. And I use 3D modeling a lot for my work, and I can sculpt in clay, and I can draw, I can do all those things. I had an art background, and so there's stuff all around me that I sculpted in clay and molded and cast it. But to do a 3D version is way faster and easier. And now with the 3D stuff, like if you see Masked Singer from last season, I think it was last season. If you look up Masked Singer Gumball, I built that costume, and along with like a bunch of other costumes I made, I feel like that one's a really good example because it's got some 3D printed elements, some purchased pieces that I needed to integrate, and a bunch of foam fabricated stuff. Like I foam fabricated most of the costume, but I 3D modeled the whole damn thing first and made my foam templates off of 3D models, but then all my 3D printed parts fit perfectly with the foam fabricated pieces because they were all from the same model. So it's really convenient because now you have a fabricated part that's really durable and it's lightweight and quick to make and just comfortable to wear. So if you're a performer and you have like a foam fabricated costume versus a 3D printed or a fiberglass costume, it's way more comfortable. But the shapes and stuff all are exactly from my 3D model, so I could work it all out beforehand, and it was just extremely convenient. And there's a bunch of 3D printed elements because it's a gumball machine, so like the actual gumball dispenser, you can turn a knob and it drops gumballs, and then the helmet was like a big, like 22-inch plexiglass or acrylic sphere that we turned into the gumball machine top. That's part of the head, but it comes off like a space helmet. So that thing has, a ring around it. It's like a space suit where you could put the head on and it clicks into place and locks. But all that locking, clicking mechanism, 3D printed, but integrates perfectly with the foam fab. It's very nice. So anyway, yeah, having that 3D skill, so handy. You can apply it to so many different types of builds, and I think that's a very valuable thing. And if you know a couple types, like I said, like I use Fusion a lot for my mechanical stuff, but if I have to do organics, I use ZBrush. But if you could do your SolidWorks and then have like a decent foundation in Blender, which I feel like if you can 3D model, the modeling's different than SolidWorks or Fusion, but you have a kind of a grasp of working in a 3D space. It's a huge head start compared to starting from scratch. But having some poly modeling skills along with your engineering skills would be very good. Very, very, very good. Thank you. Yeah, that one's cool. And then I did one called a few years before, I think in 2020, I made the baby alien costume for Masked Singer. And it's got a puppet on the front. The puppet was built by Ron Binion, and then the little skirt was made by my friend Ratna. Can't think of Ratna's last name. But I made the whole pod part for that alien, and that was another one where there was a lot of parts that were purchased. Like it was two giant vacuum form hemispheres, and then there were like vents and like connectors on the inside for like backpacks, and then it had like a flare at the bottom for the thrust for like where like a rocket, what do you call it, the cone that comes off the back. That was all 3D printed, and then all the stuff inside was 3D printed, but it fits perfectly with the vacuum formed hemispheres because I modeled the vacuum formed hemispheres, and so all the pieces I made were booleaned out of the vacuum formed hemispheres, so everything fits perfectly on that item, which is so handy. But yeah, it was that one. That one came out good, and it was like that one. I did like a metal paint job on it, made it look like they wanted to look sort of like retro sci-fi, like with the rivets and stuff everywhere. And there's a real rivets everywhere, and there's like one section that actually holds the two hemispheres together, but then all the rest are decorative. In my hand, I should have bought like a pneumatic riveter or something when I did that, but I just did a hand riveter. And if you look at it, there are like hundreds of rivets in that thing. My arm was so toasted after doing that. I had to drill like all those holes before dropping all the rivets in, and it took like probably spent a day doing rivets. And then another one I worked on, but with like a team of people, was the beach ball. And it was a huge build. It was really, really cool, but it was only on one episode. And that one, no 3D work, all fabrication kind of stuff. And it has like a puppet face on that one too. And Ron Binion also built that puppet face. I did most of the work on the sphere structure itself, and then somebody, I don't know who welded. We hired a welder to make the frame for it, but I don't know who it was. And then Ron did the puppet face and stitched the skin for it. And then it had like a foam base, as like it looks like beach sand, like a sand castle kind of thing, which was, I can't remember who, somebody carved it, and then I did most of the sand coating on it, which was real easy. I just mixed sand in a bucket with Elmer's glue and stuck it on there. It was very, very heavy. And I think if it was my choice, that wasn't my idea to do it that way. If it was my choice, I probably would have just done like a thin layer right on the foam instead of, it probably could have just been paint, honestly. But we glued real like play sand to the foam fabricated base. That singer looks like a trip and a half. It's a fun, yeah, great metal finish, really nice. Thank you very much, man. The Masked Singer is super fun to work on. The people in charge of the costume department are so nice. They're really good to work with because they just understand. They like have a concept, and basically you get it as close as you can to their concept. But if it's not perfect, they are really cool about it usually, unless it's like a major change. They would be like, you're like, hey, this will work better if the hands are built like this, and it's going to affect the look a little bit. They're like, okay, really, really cool, which is rare. That's very rare. So they were really, really great to work with in that regard. And I worked on like those. I technically did the most work on those 3 costumes. I've done a couple small parts for other people's builds that were like, like decorative pieces for some of the other costumes, but like, I don't know, maybe like 2 or 3 other little things, and I've painted some stuff for a couple of the other costumes. But it's fun to work around it, and it's fun to watch everybody do their work. Like other people around you are making those costumes too, and you learn a lot just being near these talented people, because all those fabricators that I worked with are just super good, and you just learn so much. I love being in shops because of that, because everybody there has some cool trick that I would have never thought of, and sometimes it seems so simple. It makes a ton of sense, but you never see anybody do it until you've seen someone do it. You're like, oh my god, that's genius. Oh my god, it didn't just crash. Alright, I'm probably gonna get out of here soon. My controller is screaming at me, but look at this. I am having such a freaking good time flying around and just making it in and out of these buildings and stuff. I'm impressed with myself today. It's pretty amazing. Yeah, look how cool this board is. Look at all this stuff. So many interesting nooks and crannies. And I feel like they didn't even have to like do much to fit all this extra stuff in. I just spent some more time on this board making it cool. Over the power lines. Oh, into the tree and crashed. Thanks for the chat, man. Thanks for hanging out. It's awesome. It's like, it makes doing this whole thing more fun when there's someone to chat with. Otherwise, I'm just talking to myself, which I do all the time anyway. like a homeless guy, but you know. Oh yeah, I forgot. If you weren't here earlier, I got makeup on my face still from today's shoot, so they made me look dirty. I mentioned this at the beginning of the video, but I don't know who was here. But my hands, they paint them up all gnarly, and my face is like, they made me look all caved in and stuff. So let me take this. My neck is painted. It's gross. It looks super dirty. And it shows up way dirtier in camera. Like if I look at myself in the mirror, it looks like a little grungy, but in camera it looks way dirtier. Ugh. But yeah, I'll come back to this, and I don't know, in a few months I'll refer back to this video. What is today, the 22nd? I'll say, go look at my video from the 22nd. You can see my dirty face, and you'll see what that's from. But sweet, thanks again for hanging out, and I'll be back to fly the drone day after tomorrow, and then tomorrow I'll probably do some ZBrush work for a little bit because I have a big pile of ZBrush stuff to do. So I'll probably stream while I do ZBrush if I can. And I'm building a big set piece in my upstairs room. So if I can make room, maybe I can live stream that. But it's really awkward because I can't look at the camera and do it. But maybe I'll just put it on and just let it play in the background so people can look at me do it, I guess. I don't know. But anyway, thanks kids for stopping by. And we'll see you soon. Let's see if